I think with Jack, he wanted to be the rock star singer and be able to do stuff that makes him feel good, but it had repercussions. One thing about it is he's not a bad person. This is just the voices hit his head, because he's one of the all-time great rock singers.
Rock, metal, prog, and everything in between. Welcome to this episode of Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. Don't forget to follow the audio-only Talkin' Rock podcast on all podcast platforms. And now, it's time for today's conversation. Here's Meltdown.
There he is, Mark Kendall, the Great White himself. How are you?
I'm doing okay, man.
Good to see you.
This is my little music room, so I jam with my grandson.
Yeah.
He's been taking lessons for 2 years, and he's getting pretty good. He's into drummers now that are way above his level. Like he shouldn't even bother with it, but I just let him kind of run, and then I ring him back in. You go, no, you got to play AC/DC, dude. He did a recital, and he did an old AC/DC song, and it was High Voltage, and he just slammed it, man. With his age group, 11-year-olds. So, he's into Travis Barker and shit. And I'm going, Travis Barker, I mean, this guy's like one of the best in the world. I mean, it's crazy.
Have you gotten him into Rush?
I'm sorry?
Have you gotten him into Neil Peart yet with Rush?
Oh, no, not yet. But I think if he starts hearing that guy, then he'll really go bananas. But this Blink-182 dude, Travis Barker, he's changed his drum set now to be like his and stuff. It's pretty, but he's got a lot of enthusiasm. So
now
I'm trying to teach him that learning how to play right, with the rudiments and paradiddles and all that stuff from a really solid pro drummer that I know from years ago. He's one of the best drummers around, and he's teaching him the right way, and so he doesn't get bored. He shows him how to do it on his drums, and really breaks it down simple. So he goes, oh, I get it. He just don't want to hit on the practice pads all the time.
Right. Now,
little impatient.
I know your grandson because you talk about your personal life so much on socials. Actually, I'm trying to think if there's someone in the rock world that talks about their personal life so much on social media. You really like that stuff, don't you?
Yeah. Just little positive things. I'm trying to be funny, trying to make it light of everything. And so I chime in with something that I'm trying to be clever, even though it probably isn't, but sometimes. But the fans have kind of grown up with Noah because he's been on rock cruises, about 5 of them. The last time, Kip Winger introduced him, and he played for the Shredders, Guitar Wizards, and so he got to get up there and just play a straight beat. He was only 10 then, but he's really improved a lot in the last couple of years. But yeah, I just really dig the guy. He's a pretty good kid.
That's awesome, man. So Great White's going to be in town, Motor City Casino Soundboard with Slaughter on next Thursday as we record this, August 7th. I was just there over the weekend with the Night Ranger guys. That is an awesome venue, by the way.
Oh, yeah. We've actually driven by it a couple times, going to another gig, a festival and whatnot. And I think we saw that Night Ranger was playing, not the recent time, but a time a couple of years ago. And we like the hard rocks. We used to play them a lot. So, yeah, it's exciting. They usually sound pretty good, the rooms,
No, it's a great room. But, hey, by the way, speaking of driving around, you guys, you were here last week, and I wish I could have got you hooked up with Ghost tickets to go check out Ghost. But you guys got stuck here, right? You guys with a blown-out tire or something in Michigan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were in this limo, and it was an old one. I mean, the thing was just falling apart. They had one of the side view mirrors was duct taped on.
Oh, my God.
And some panel fell off inside. But it looked pretty impressive. It looked nice from the outside. But, yeah, all of a sudden the car started shaking. This lady driving, she couldn't figure it out. So she kept driving. And then all of a sudden it got really bad. So she pulled over. We were dead smack in the middle of nowhere. So we had to call people and forget when we ended up just hiring our own Ubers. And because somebody was going to come change the tire, but we'd been sitting there for 2 hours. So
Yeah.
let's just get a couple of Ubers and get this horrible thing over with, you know.
I think if I'm not mistaken, you guys were in Brighton, but I could be wrong. I don't know if you remember exactly where you were when you got stuck, but I know you guys were heading up to the Thumb.
It, we were in between the airport and Bay City,
Oh,
so about in the middle. You know, it was a 2 hour drive, or maybe longer, but we were right in the middle of that in this overpass. We were just sitting there. It was crazy, man. And
yeah.
the air didn't work. It was like there was a guy in there just blowing or something. You know, it wasn't even like regular air. It was like almost warm. It's like
Ugh.
so we started going outside. It was actually a little cooler outside, so that she didn't know how to run the air, and we tried too, and it was just broke. You know.
It sounds like a true Spinal Tap moment. And by the way, that's coming out this year. Are you going to be watching Spinal Tap too?
Yeah, I think I might check it out. You know, the first one was pretty amazing. Because I actually have a memory. I was in New York and we were going to play Madison Square Garden, and with I think it was Judas Priest when it came out, and I went with this chick to the theater to watch it, and it was oh man, that movie. You know, they actually really did a good job on it. You know, the whole lick my left hand and you know, they're really funny, these guys. You know, so that was pretty interesting.
Did that hit close to home for you as some of those things?
Um, a couple times way after the movie, there was a couple times where we couldn't find the stage. You know, we're like underground type deal. So
Mm.
that part, but it wasn't as extreme as they're looking for the stage. But it kind of reminded you. Every once in a while, you go, "Oh, we're having a Spinal Tap moment," you know. But you know, things happen kind of fun.
Yeah. So who's playing bass on this upcoming run?
His name's Dan McNay. I don't know a ton about him. He used to play with Ronnie Montrose and you know stuff like that. He's from way up north, so he kind of grew up around Montrose and you know bands from around there. And just a super solid bass player, man. And like really nice. He's you know Mr. Non-Drama.
I guess that's part of the deal. That I was just talking about that. I was just talking with Steve Jones yesterday, and he said that he's having so much fun out on tour with these guys he's playing with, and I guess that's half the battle, or maybe even more than half the battle, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. You know, I wish it was in different circumstances than what happened, but yeah, it creates a little new energy and stuff, and he really gets out there and gets into it. So, and he's playing like gangster. I mean, he really has a good sound and all that. He's a true bass player, you know.
Mm.
He probably knows you know the name of the guy in Jefferson Airplane who played bass. You know, and he's one of those dudes that's a total bass fan. You know, so it's like his whole life or something. So it's kind of cool to get a real bass player instead of one that used to play guitar, but they think it's easier to get a gig with the bass, you know. So
That's so funny, man.
some people don't play guitar. I was really shocked. I played at a wedding with Michael Anthony from Van Halen years ago. My buddy's sister was getting married, and he worked for Tesla at the time, but he also worked for Michael Anthony off season. And we wrote a song together and got Michael Anthony to play bass, you know, so we could jam at this wedding. And I didn't bring a guitar with me. I was going to show him the song, you know. I didn't have a guitar, And I go, I'm figuring this guy's in Van Halen. He's got to have an acoustic at least. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he goes, Mark. He goes, and when I asked him if he had a guitar, he's like, Mark, you know I'm a bass player, right? He goes, I wouldn't even know how to play a chord on the guitar. I have no clue.
That's
So
thank you.
that
That
was great.
picked it up from osmosis next to Eddie Van Halen all those years.
Yeah, he just plays bass, you know, lays it down like that.
And you got to hear those high harmonies at the wedding?
Oh yeah, we had harmonies where he sang. It was like crazy. He told me sometimes when they did 3-part harmonies in the studio or whatever, he faced the other way because his voice was so piercing. You know,
Wow.
it's it. Except for some of the stuff where he did on his own, just overdubbing. But he said sometimes they would. I guess those three, well, like David Lee Roth, him, and Eddie. Eddie can sing, you know, too. Um, so they do 3-part harmonies, and they found it's best if he turned his head away from the mic because his voice was so like, you know, so much power and range and all that. He just it just blended better that way.
Yeah. I was just talking about Steve Jones talked to him. I talked to Eric Martin as well recently, and I asked them both, and I'll ask you as well. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the passing of Ozzy, legend?
Yeah, really tough. You know, I followed him for years. We did one show with Black Sabbath in Denmark, and we were on the side of the stage. And I talked to Sharon Osbourne for quite a while, and Jack and Kelly were there, standing next to her because we had something in common. My daughter was at the same talent agency, Brian and Rotman, and they, you know, I guess they might have been doing commercials or something too. So she, you know, had something to strike a conversation with, and I wanted to get my son a pick, but we only stayed for like 4 songs around the side, and you know, to see him out there still doing it, and you know, when I was a teenager, I learned every song of Black Sabbath 4. It just seemed like it's really good for, you know, a novice guitar player that's just kind of getting his way around. Black Sabbath 4 has a lot of cool riffs and everything, and just his voice was just amazing. And Michael Wagner, the producer, has told us a lot of stories about Ozzy that were just really nice stories. It's such a tough loss. You know, when he was down and out, not doing well, and the way Sharon just got his life on track and all that. It's really quite the story, quite the legend, and just everybody loved him, you know.
Yeah, Great White didn't play any shows or tours with him back in the 80s or nothing, huh?
No, no. You know, they probably use heavier bands, but we're on a festival package with them.
Mm.
Because in Europe, they don't care if you're in the same genre. I mean, on that same bill was like Bob Dylan, you know, Slayer. I mean, Slayer and Bob Dylan, can you imagine? Iggy Pop, I remember. I couldn't believe it. And back then, you know, we were a little younger. I go, this guy's 55. He's already done like 3 stage dives in the first song. He was like bleeding from his chest and go, man, that's amazing, you know.
You're talking about Iggy, right?
Iggy Pop.
Yeah, from right
Yeah.
here. Yeah, right here in the Detroit area.
He was totally rad, man.
Yeah.
His energy at the show, but I couldn't wait to see Ozzy. Didn't get the pick for my son, but ended up getting one eventually somehow. I can't remember, of Tony Iommi and stuff. Then the other, my first bass player, not my first bass player, but the one I made the band that became Great White, Dante Fox. I know it's a bad name, but his name's Don Costa. He quit 3 weeks before we got signed, literally. And lucky for him, he got a gig in Ozzy. So that was pretty neat.
Wow.
I was happy for him because he just said we weren't heavy enough.
Mhm.
He didn't. He was he liked a lot heavier music. So
Yeah.
I was happy he followed his heart. It's good. Sounds good enough for me.
Now, last time I saw you was a few years ago, and a lot has happened since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, since I saw you in person, obviously I see you online all the time and whatnot. But we lost Jack Russell. I saw Jack in November, the year before he passed away in 2023, and even though he was frail and stuff, I thought he sounded great. When was the last time you talked to Jack or had any conversations with him?
Not. We didn't speak much, but we pretty much connected at the hip our whole career. I had a good relationship with both his mom and dad. They're the greatest people ever. My wife looked after his mother, um, and Jack was in a bad way. He was really wailing on his addiction, so it was a very tough time. And as far as his passing, yeah, it hit me hard. You know, but I was by his hospital bed. I don't even know how many times, just from like either an overdose or some reaction from doing too much. And he had like just all these different ailments. And in rehab, so you see, I'm a advocate of sobriety, so I really like it when people do well, but it's hard if they don't want to do well, And so, but I still support him. I still, I was by his bedside for 7 days straight. I remember in a rehab facility, and then we had an intervention with family, trying to do the best we could, and he'd get out and just it wasn't even a very long wait before he's right back. And I've tried to evaluate it for years. I honestly believe that he was not comfortable in his own skin sober.
Mm,
Um, I just he he needed something to make him feel better. He seemed to be a bit miserable. So I tried to find something, you know, something for him to do, keep busy on the off time, and it had been happening since he was 16 years old.
mm.
I mean, Audie was in a band with him, my drummer, and the parents told him watch him and make sure he doesn't get high. That was a weird introduction. He's only 16. I mean, what you gonna do, smoking pot? So but I never took this personally, but I didn't want to enable it anymore. So I just we as a band we just told him go get well and come back the badass fucking sleeve tattoo dude that commands crowds. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that went on for a year or more, and then he found people that would accept that. The him just singing and being high. But one thing about it is he's not a bad person. This is just the voices hit his head, and he just goes off, and it affects his health and his ability to. Because he's one of the all-time great rock singers.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't even care how big we ever got. He's still badass singer, man. I mean, that guy can sing just about anything. So he had amazing skill, but it was just a slow decline until he couldn't walk and stuff like this. So I I have my dad married somebody else. My parents got divorced when I was a teenager, and his wife was kind of a prescription drug person, and she ended up looking almost just like Jack, like
Mm,
verbatim, and
mhm.
Jack took the similar drugs, probably more street related, or not really more street related, because he got a lot from doctors and doctor shopping. When as far as his death, that really, I don't know. I was just really upset by it, and I kind of wanted people to know, how great his work ethic was in the studio. I went on Eddie Trunk for an hour, and I didn't want to sit there and just talk about his drug habit or anything like that. I wanted people to know how close we were, and I mean, from the embryo of when I met this guy, we were pretending like we were playing Big Genius and we didn't have a bass player yet. I mean, so teenagers with the dream and all that. So the memories, and his dad got us jobs and stuff, and we were constantly working this band, making demos, and so we had a kind of a goal. Never got in an argument with the guy. I mean, we never fought about anything, because I've heard the fans say, "Why don't you guys patch it up? Like there's some, we hate each other or something." That wasn't ever the case. It was always, addiction. And I used to drink beer like a crazy man. I didn't quit until 2008. I got 17 years sobriety, but I'm not trying to say I didn't have my issues. And maybe it did affect my playing at times, and we're on long tours and just partying a little too much, But I was able to get away from it. Yeah, addiction is a horrible thing. It hurts a lot of people. I used to be very selfish when I drank. This is me. I'm doing this to me. What are you worried about? That was my attitude.
Mm-hmm.
With these people that love me, but
you're affecting everybody around you.
Yeah, I'm affecting everybody around me, but so self-centered and so, I don't know, it's selfish. You're just selfish, and you don't care what anybody says. You're gonna have your beer. It ain't gonna hurt nobody, And so that was my attitude. I was able to escape it, but I had to quit doing it my way and listen to people that had 30 plus years sobriety, and just how'd you go that long, and stuff, and kind of learn and kind of change myself as well. After I had about 3 years, I started, just letting people know that I'm always available. I'm not this hiding rock star, not hiding from nobody. If you get a hold of me, I can share my story, encouragement, support, be a sober friend,
Yeah.
Because one thing I thought is, if they're a fan of Great White and they see that I got sober, maybe they'll think, use that like, hey, I'm friends, with the guitar player for Great White. But that's not what my intention was, to share my story, and maybe they take a couple things from it that can help them, because what they're doing is not working. So, and when I tried to do things on my own, it never worked. I think with Jack, his addiction was so bad. He, for one thing, he didn't want to quit. He wanted both things. He wanted to be the rock star singer and be able to do stuff that makes him feel good. But it had repercussions. Like, I worked with Janie Lane before he died, like every day. I mean, I was sending a prayer, meditation. He'd call me and say how much he'd hit home. And as a memorial, I went to it because I wanted everybody to know. Because he told me he wanted to be sober more than anything. He said his only trigger was downtime.
Yeah.
So And sure enough, he got some downtime and heard the voices and went off, and it was fatal. But this addiction stuff is it's crazy. Normal people don't get it. They just think, God, how can you be so weak? Why don't you just stop? I mean, what's the big deal? You know what I mean? But they don't get it. It can be horrid. And I always try to explain to people, I'm not reaching out to social drinkers who just enjoy themselves every once in a while. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you're reaching out to people that can't shut the spigot off.
Exactly, like people that have lost their families or their job, and just livelihood in general. Everybody's left them, and they're just swimming in alcohol or drugs, and those are the ones. And maybe they're thinking about getting sober, but they just never. They don't really know how to go about it, so they just don't do it. Because a lot of times, just from my words, man, I'm going to try that. You know what I mean? And some of them do really good. I have guys that I work with that from years ago that have like 12 years sobriety, 11 years, that it just goes on and on. So you can reach some people. They have to want it. They have to be willing to change things up a little bit. But as far as Jack's death, it was a horrific nightmare. It's so sad because all the history we had, the friendship, how long I mean, friends for so long. It was a shame because our motto was teams to the end. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to ride this baby home, until we couldn't do it no more. That was the plan. But addiction got in the way. It's horrific.
Well, I'm glad to see you're here. 17 years, you said, and next week at the Motor City Casino soundboard, you got your band attack. The band's rocking at Shipshawana the next day. You're coming with my friends from Slaughter as well. Like I said, Mark, I'm going to try to come and see you. But I have a million things going on, and I'm going to try to sneak out.
All right,
up there for a little bit.
Yeah, don't come if you got the motorcycle hair nation stuff going on.
I'm going to do it again. But it's always great to touch base with you here. This thing is going to cut me off in a minute, but I just want to make sure everyone knows you're going to be in town and give Scott our best. And we'll see you next week here in Detroit
Sure will.
City.
Brad, okay. Nice talking to you, Meltdown.